So you've figured out when you need a rental car and you've found the best option. But before you book, let's make sure that you're getting the right vehicle for your trip. In this episode, I'm going to share how car sizes, timing on booking, and even your age can affect your rental, and how you're going to do your reviews to make the choices that fit both your trip and your budget. Welcome to another Traveling in Ireland Quick Tips episode, where I share one piece of advice to help you make the most of your Ireland vacation. I'm Jody Halsted, Ireland travel advisor and host of the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Now, there are a few things that you absolutely must know before you book your car rental. Number one, the credit card must be in the name of the primary driver. And quite often, prepaid cards and sometimes even debit cards aren't accepted for your booking. So make sure that you know what is needed to book and always book using a card in the name of the primary driver. Number two, your driver's license must be current. It cannot be expired for the duration of your trip. So it can't expire in the middle of your trip. It needs to be completely valid for the entirety of your trip. A digital license is not going to be accepted in Ireland. You have to take your actual license card, so don't forget it at home. And believe it or not, both of these situations have happened to clients of mine on their trips to Ireland. So that is why I bring them to your attention. And the third point, you might be able to book your car rental with a debit card, but when you get to Ireland, especially if you have to have a hold of any type on your card, so whether you are paying for an additional driver, whether you have a fuel hold or you're using a hold on your insurance, you have to have a credit card for that. I think there is only one rental company that will accept debit cards for that right now. And the last thing you want is your debit card blocked up with a huge hold. So make sure that you do have a credit card in the name of the primary driver for that purpose. Okay, so digging in. The first thing you want to look at before you book a car is the size. You want to rent a car that fits your needs. And I have an image, and I'll pop it up here in a minute, of my two daughters with our luggage at the Shannon Airport. And I think this was 2017. And I had booked a car that I thought was going to have enough space. And the car I booked, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, the car that I booked was a similar car to the one I thought I was getting, and it wouldn't hold our luggage. So my eldest daughter thought it was the funniest thing in the world, and my youngest daughter had a little bit of jet lag going on, and she was not amused. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that the car you're renting fits your needs. Now, as we've discussed in past episodes, smaller cars cost less to rent, they cost less to put fuel into, but smaller isn't always better. So the first thing you want to consider when you're looking at your car size is the luggage space. Now, you can usually get 2 medium suitcases in a compact trunk. So the boot of a compact car usually will hold 2 medium suitcases, but it's not probably going to be able to hold your carry-on in addition, or your personal items, and those will have to go in the back seat. And that's not always the safest place for your luggage, because if you have luggage in the back seat, it automatically, you're obviously a tourist. And in some places that are remote, and I believe we talked about this as well, you want to make sure that your luggage is concealed. So make sure that the amount of luggage that you're bringing is going to fit safely into the car you are getting. The next thing you want to consider is the comfort of your travelers. Now, if you're traveling with children, remember that car seats take up extra space. Cars in Ireland may be a bit narrower than you are used to in the US, so getting 3 car seats across in the back seat of a car can be difficult. Or we did this once too. We had to upgrade. We took my mother with us, and both of my girls were still in car seats. And we got, what did we get? We got something that I was positive it was going to be wide enough. And we couldn't fit everybody in the vehicle. There wasn't enough room. So we had to upgrade at Dublin Airport at that time as well and get a vehicle that had a third row for my, for a car seat for my youngest daughter. So make sure that you, if you're traveling with kids, car seats do take up extra space. Cars are a bit narrower. So make sure you have enough room for everybody. And then also keep the sardine factor in mind. And basically, this is just how long can your travelers comfortably sit squished together in the car? So if you are traveling, I say if you're traveling with 5 people, you need to get a 7-passenger people mover. That translates in North America to a minivan or an estate car, something with a third row of seats, so that everybody can be comfortable and you're still going to have enough room for the luggage. If your travel days are anytime over 3 hours, your people aren't going to want to sit squished in the back of the car for that long. And another thing to remember is the or similar. This is where you can get caught out because what you're doing is you're booking a category and not a specific vehicle. So I'm going to pull up a web page to show you the or similar type of thing you're going to see when you're renting a car. So this is my car rental partner, Irish Car Rentals. As I've mentioned before, if you use my link, IrelandFamilyVacations.com/ICR, you will save 10% on your rental vehicle. So let's see. There's already some dates in there, so we're just going to go on down. So you can see as soon as we start looking at vehicles, so like this Hyundai, there's an or similar, Fiesta, or similar, Focus, or similar. So every vehicle is going to say or similar. So like this one lists the Hyundai Tucson. This is actually a outstanding vehicle to drive in Ireland. I know a lot of people might be afraid that it's too big. It is identical to the Hyundai Tucson in North America, which makes it very easy to compare and contrast. But it's also, there's no issues on the roads. I have driven the smallest roads in Ireland with this vehicle and have never had an issue. So, but the thing that that I want to point out to you is that, there's an or similar intermediate. So you may end up getting a Nissan Qashqai, which is the same as a Nissan Rogue. Here's the Nissan Qashqai. Is an intermediate. Now, the Nissan Qashqai, when you compare it to the Hyundai Tucson, is quite a bit smaller. So just being aware of what you might end up with when you are renting. Another thing you really want to look at is, so this says in the Hyundai that it will carry 5 passengers. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't tell you how many bags it will take, and that's a little frustrating. Because I know that the Hyundai, you can get 3 medium bags and at least 2 carry-ons in the back. But if you're looking at the Nissan Qashqai, you might get 2 medium bags and possibly a small carry-on into the back of that, but not much more. So you want to really be aware of what you're looking at when you're looking at the boot or the trunk space as well. Now, some car rental companies will tell you, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this one, and I'm going to pull up another website for you that I believe is going to show us the amount of bags per vehicle as well. So I've popped over to the enterprise.ie site. Now, Enterprise has the same type of categories. So you're going to find similar categories across every car rental company. So compact, economy, standard, intermediate, those kind of things. So what we're seeing here, so this Skoda Kodiaq is very interesting because it says it's a 7-person vehicle. but it will only carry one bag. That is probably one that even with a family of 5, you might want to stay away from. It's just not going to have the luggage capabilities that you need. Let's run down here. We have a seat Arona. Now this says it will carry 5 people and 3 bags. Let's see, here's a Kia Sportage. This is again is a smaller SUV. They have it listed as an intermediate vehicle. So again, this just kind of shows that difference, because I can tell you, for example, the Hyundai Tucson, also an intermediate SUV, Kia Sportage, both will carry 5 people. It says the Kia will carry 3 bags. That's true. That Hyundai is going to carry at least 4. So just knowing about the amount of baggage space that you're going to have and figuring that in. Now, like this premium, this is a really good one. So you can get a 9-passenger van from Enterprise. And actually, this is the exact van that I rented last autumn when I was in Ireland. We had this van, 9-seat vehicle. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is sometimes that first row of back seats face backwards. So confirm that before you rent, because on those twisty roads, sitting backwards is not always fun. But also, if you look, it says 9 people, but 5 bags. And that's very true. Now, we did have some room under seats that we were able to tuck personal items and some smaller carry-on bags under. But we had 8 people traveling, and I had to tell everybody, each couple has 1 medium bag. So we were able to get the medium bags and then the carry-ons in the back, and it was a tight fit. So double and triple check the size of vehicle that you are getting. If you are in doubt, go up a size, because you will not regret having too much space, but you will regret not having enough. The next thing you want to do before booking is kind of keep in mind your timing. Prices rise as demand increases, and the first vehicles that are rented are automatics and minivans. So anything 7-passenger and automatic is gone first. So if you need either of those, book sooner rather than later. For the summer trips, so we're talking like high season, mid-May to the middle to end of September, book your vehicles no less than 4 months in advance. You might be able to find something, you probably will find something even closer than that, but to have the best available options, no less than 4 months in advance. For off-season travel, you can usually get away with a month in advance, even closer, especially if you can drive a manual transmission. You want to check your cancellation policies. Look for a free cancellation, because it will allow you to rebook if prices drop. If you're watching prices and you're conscious of those things and you book something with a 0 cancellation, you can very easily rebook if the price drops. And then when you are booking with large companies, Enterprise, Alamo, Hertz, those kind of things, always use the .ie. That is the Irish site. So it'd be like enterprise.ie, alamo.ie. That's going to give you full transparency on taxes and insurance. Now, what I personally do is, after I know my exact dates and I know when I need the car, so I'm not going to be, not going to be renting it when I'm in Dublin. And if I'm possibly using public transportation, I don't need the car then. But once I know exactly when I need the car, I just go ahead and get it rented. I like to have that off my plate. I like to have things, just ready and done so I don't have to worry about them as the trip gets closer. And then the third thing that you want to keep in mind is the age at rental. This is a detail that can be overlooked until last minute. And for some people, it can be a little stressful or even detrimental to their trip. So most companies, all companies, unless you have some sort of issue on your license, they will rent to drivers between 25 and 74 with no issues. If you're under 25, you can expect a surcharge or very limited categories of vehicle that you can rent. Now, the only company I know of in Ireland that will rent to anyone below 25 is Sixt. And they charge a very nice fee for that privilege. If you are over 75, you may need documentation, doctor's note, proof of driving history, things like that. Now, I have compiled a full article that lists all senior policies with all the rental companies in Ireland, and there are a few that do not require any additional paperwork. So to get that full list and to learn more about the companies in Ireland and their senior policies, you can visit IrelandFamilyVacations.com/rent70 plus. So it's RENT 70 plus sign. And that's going to give you that full article, so much information, and the best companies, easiest companies for you to rent with if you are 75 or older. Now, remember, when you are looking at age and things like that, every company's rules do vary. And especially if you're renting with an international company. So again, back to Enterprise, Alamo, Hertz, all of those are going to have any rentals that you've ever had with that company, as well as your driving records and things like that. So just keep that in mind as well. If you've ever had an issue renting with one of those companies, you may want to avoid it when you're in Ireland, just so you don't possibly show up and find out that you're on the no drive list. I've had somebody who had that happen as well. So just be really clear about age, driving details, and all of those things before hitting the rent button. And finally, if you are traveling with multiple drivers, go ahead and have the main driver be the easiest age category for the primary renter. Just makes things a little bit easier. But know that if your secondary driver is under 25 or a senior, that they are going to need to provide extra paperwork or may have extra fees. So again, knowing those rules and restrictions that surround that is going to keep things easier at the rental counter. And finally, a couple extra tips. Remember that the additional driver will have an extra fee on most cases, not all. There are a couple of rental companies that do include the additional driver, and if you go back to the episode where we talk about fees, you will learn that. Extra driver, daily fee, only add if you're both going to drive. If you're not both going to drive, don't bother adding it. In some cases, it can be added before when you are making your booking. In other cases, it has to be added when you arrive in Ireland. The extras, the GPS, the toll tag, both of which I say are not necessary. Don't bother renting those in advance. Like I said, I don't think they're necessary, but if you want them, you can get them when you arrive. They will add those on for you. And then if you are traveling with children and you are not bringing your own child seats, rent those in advance, because if you wait until you arrive, you may find that they're all rented and you can't get them. And then you'll have to go buy some. So if you do need child seats, rent those in advance so they can be installed and waiting for you when you get there. All right. So now that you have rented the right vehicle for your trip, I'm going to be sharing in the next episode what happens when you actually pick up your car. So from the documenting to the damage checks and what you need to know if you are doing airport pickup and return at Dublin and Shannon airports. Thanks so much for joining me. Slán for now.